This is BBC World News with me, Karen Giannoni. Well, we are bringing you special coverage of President Trump's imminent announcement on Iran. He's due to set out his new policy shortly. This is the live scene from the White House. Let's just tell you a little bit about what we're expecting to hear from him. Now, he is going to refuse to certify the Iran nuclear deal, which he has repeatedly had to do during the course of his presidency, and instead take the measure to refer it from now on to Congress. So he's stopping short of withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal of 2015, but the way it is approached by the administration is going to change somewhat. So we're expecting to hear from President Trump any minute now. That room is full of reporters. We will bring you that announcement as soon as we get it. With me in the studio, our chief international correspondent Lise Doucet and BBC Persian's Amir Paivar. Welcome to both of you. Lise, I mean, is this broadly what we were expecting to hear from Donald Trump?
He said it in September. Those words he's used before, I've made up my mind. And everyone said, oh, what has he done? And it was widely interpreted as him saying, I don't want to certify the deal again. We know he did it the first time, wasn't happy. The second time there were huge arguments. He didn't want to do it. His national security advisor says certify it. So here's the third time, and it's widely believed he will not certify. But this is the unpredictable thing. He will give it to Congress. Does he want Congress to waive the sanctions and keep the deal alive? But I think the other thing we have to be aware of, this is not going to just be about the nuclear deal. We're expecting a broad strategy on Iran, which could possibly include sanctions against the Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC. If he does that, and I'm sure Amir Paivar will tell you, we've heard that for the Iranians, that would be tantamount to a declaration of war.
And Amir, I mean, how much of a rowing back is this on what we heard during the campaign?
Well, I mean, he said he would, that this deal was a very bad deal, that at some point he even indicated he will walk out of the deal. But now he's basically putting the ball in Congress's court to decide whether the US wants to snap back those sanctions or not, whether the US wants to walk out of the deal or not. There will be a lot of provocation from the US side, and there are two to tango, so it will be very interesting to see the reaction from Tehran. Tehran said if the US is designating Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist group, that it will be a declaration of war. But that's not what the US may do now, because Tillerson came out a few minutes ago saying there will be new sanctions on Revolutionary Guards, but he was short of actually saying that they will designate IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, as a terrorist organization, because Revolutionary Guards are practically like Iran's second army. You can't put a designation like that, sanctions like that, on an entire army, which, by the way, is cooperating with forces in Iraq in fighting ISIS.
And in Syria.
And in Syria.
So in terms of the nuclear aspect of this, I mean, Rex Tillerson has only just said Iran is complying with that nuclear deal and the terms of it. 8
times the IAEA, the nuclear watchdog, said that Iran is complying. And on those occasions when it said Iran wasn't 100% complying, it was quickly rectified. So Iran's record is clean. And Amir will remember, because we were both there week after week after week in one European city after another, following the Iran nuclear talks. And this thing about the snapback, that meaning to say sanctions would come back into effect, was meant if Iran did not comply with, but in fact it's being used in a different way this time. It's being used in an American. Nobody really expected the United States, most of all the Iranians, that they would say, no, we're not going to be part of this deal. The Iranians see the lack of certification as a violation of the deal, but they're willing to wait because this is going to be very phased. What will happen in the next 60 days? And it's very interesting that a lot of senior European officials have been working on Congress. They believe they can't persuade President Trump, but they can try to persuade members of Congress, please do not impose new sanctions. When it comes to ballistic missiles, I'm not sure what Amir would say. It's something a bit different because they're two separate things. Under the UN Security Council resolution, the deal was about nuclear only. That is all they were discussing. So when people say, oh, the deal didn't cover the ballistic missiles, oh, the deal didn't cover other aspects of the behavior, it was never meant to. But it was meant to, and the preamble says this, to contribute to more negotiations on other aspects of the relationship. And the President Trump's administration is focusing on that to say, see, they're violating the deal, the spirit of the deal, because it did not lead to better relationships in the region. To which the Iranians say, the word is not lead, the word is contribute. And let's get talking about at least some aspects of the other things that we're worried about.
If you've just joined us and you're wondering why we're looking at an empty podium, let's just tell you why. Donald Trump, we believe in about a minute's time, will be taking the podium to set out his plan for policy from here forward towards Iran. We've also been talking about his views and his stance changing towards the Iran nuclear